Jacob Brennan's knees hit the frozen ground and he couldn't get up. Blood poured from the gash in his skull where the horse had kicked him, staining the snow crimson. Inside the cabin, 7 children waited. 7 mouths to feed. 7 souls depending on a father who was dying 50 feet from their door. "God," he choked out, "not yet. Please, not yet." The youngest was only 3 months old. She'd never known her mother. Now she'd lose her father, too. Then through the howling wind, he heard hoofbeats. Before we begin this journey through heartbreak and hope, I invite you to stay with us until the very end. Please subscribe to our channel and drop a comment telling me what city you're watching from. I want to see how far this story travels across America and beyond. Now let's begin. The morning had started like every morning since Martha died. With chaos, with crying, with Jacob Brennan wondering how one man could fail 7 children so completely before the sun was even fully up. Pa Maddie's crying again. "I know Eli. I hear him." And Ruth made a mess in her bed. "I know." And Tommy hit Sam. "Tommy, stop hitting your brother." "He took my toy." "Sam, give it back." "But Pa, give it back now." Jacob pulled himself from the bed he'd barely slept in, his bones aching from exhaustion that went deeper than muscle. 3 months. That's how long Martha had been gone. 3 months of doing the work of 2 people. 3 months of watching his children's eyes go from confused to scared to something worse. Accepting. They were accepting that this was their life now. Half fed, half clean, half loved because their father was only half present, stretched so thin he couldn't remember the last time he'd actually looked at them instead of through them. Hope was screaming in her cradle. She always screamed. Born the night Martha died, she'd never known a mother's touch, only a father's clumsy attempts with goat's milk and desperation. "Shh, little one, shh, Pa's here." But Pa's here meant nothing when Pa didn't know what he was doing. Martha had made it look easy. 7 children in 8 years of marriage, and she'd managed them all with a smile and a song. Now Jacob understood the truth. She'd been drowning too. She'd just been better at hiding it. "Pa, I'm hungry." "I know, Tommy." "When's breakfast?" "Soon." "You said that yesterday and we didn't eat till almost lunch." "Tommy, I said soon." The 4-year-old's face crumpled. Not with anger, with something worse, with the kind of tired acceptance that no child should wear. "Yes, Pa." Jacob's chest tightened. He was ruining them. Every single day he was ruining them a little more. "Eli, help your brothers get dressed. I need to check on the animals." "But Pa, it's snowing hard out there. Real hard." "I know. That's why I need to check." "Can't it wait?" "The animals don't wait, son. Neither does winter." Jacob handed Hope to Eli, watching his 6-year-old take the baby with the practiced ease of a child who'd been forced to grow up too fast. Eli had been Martha's shadow. He'd learned to change diapers at 4, to warm bottles at 5, to rock his siblings to sleep with the same song their mother used to sing. "Be careful, Pa." "Always am." It was a lie. Jacob hadn't been careful about anything since Martha died. He'd been reckless, pushing through exhaustion, ignoring the warning signs his body threw at him, eating last if he ate at all. What did it matter? As long as the children survived, what happened to him didn't matter. Except it did matter. Because if something happened to him, 7 children would be alone in a cabin in Montana Territory, in the dead of winter, with no family within 100 miles. Martha's voice echoed in his memory. "Promise me, Jacob. If something happens to me, you'll take care of yourself too. The children need their father whole, not just alive." He'd promised. Like all the promises he'd made her, he was breaking it. The wind hit him like a fist when he opened the door. December in Montana meant cold that could kill a man in hours. Snow that could bury a house overnight. Isolation that stretched for weeks when the passes closed. The barn was 50 feet from the cabin. Might as well have been 50 miles in this weather. Jacob pulled his coat tighter, ducked his head and pushed forward. He didn't see the horse until it was too late. The Mustang had gotten loose somehow, spooked by the storm probably. It was running blind, panicked, and Jacob was directly in its path. "Whoa! Easy, easy, boy!" The hoof caught him on the side of the head. The world exploded into white, then red, then nothing. When he came back to himself, he was face down in snow that was rapidly turning pink. His skull throbbed with a pain that made everything else disappear. He tried to push himself up. His arms wouldn't cooperate. "Get up," he told himself. "Get up. They need you. Get up." He made it to his knees. The world spun violently. He vomited, barely missing himself, and the effort of it nearly sent him back down. Blood was pouring down his face. He could feel it hot against his frozen skin. Head wounds bled badly, he knew that. This might look worse than it was. Or it might be exactly as bad as it looked. "Please," he whispered to a God he'd stopped believing in when Martha died with their 7th child in her arms. "Please, not yet. They're just babies. They won't survive without me." He tried to stand. His legs buckled. He crawled instead, dragging himself toward the cabin through snow that seemed determined to swallow him whole. 50 feet, 40, 30. His vision was going dark at the edges. Not from the storm. From something inside his skull that was broken. 20 feet. 15. He could hear the children now. Eli's voice high with panic. "Pa, P.A., where are you? P.A.? Here!" Jacob tried to call out. His voice came out as a whisper. "I'm here. He collapsed 10 feet from his own front door. This is it, he thought with strange clarity. This is how it ends. "Martha, I'm sorry. I tried. I tried so hard and I still failed them." The snow was almost comfortable now. That was bad. He knew it was bad. When the cold stopped hurting, death was close. "P.A." The door burst open. Eli stood there. Hope still in his arms, his young face twisted with terror. "Stay inside," Jacob managed. "Eli, stay." But Eli was already running toward him, sliding in the snow, nearly falling with the baby. "Papa, get up. You have to get up." "Can't. Get your brothers. Barricade the door. There's food in the... Pay, please." Jacob's eyes were closing. He couldn't stop them. The last thing he saw was his son's face streaked with tears that were freezing on his cheeks. The last thing he heard was hoofbeats. Clara Hayes had been riding for 6 hours through the worst storm she'd seen in 3 winters, and she was beginning to think she'd made a terrible mistake. The stage to Helena had broken down 20 miles back. The driver said help would come within the day. Clara had looked at the sky, looked at the snow already falling, and made a decision. "I'm not waiting." "Ma'am, you can't ride through this alone. It ain't safe." "Neither is freezing to death in a broken stagecoach." "There's a way station about 15 miles north. If you can make it." "I'll make it." She hadn't made it to the way station. The storm had turned her around twice, maybe 3 times. She'd lost the trail hours ago. Now she was riding blind through a whiteout, trusting her horse to find shelter before they both died. Then she heard screaming. A child's voice, high and desperate, cutting through the wind like a knife. "Help somebody! Help Papa wake up!" Clara kicked her horse forward, following the sound. Through the swirling snow she saw shapes emerge. A cabin, a barn, a small figure kneeling in the snow beside a larger one. A man, face down, not moving, blood everywhere. "Please." The child looked up as Clara approached. A boy, maybe 6, clutching a tiny bundle that Clara realized with horror was an infant. "Please, my pa, he's hurt. He won't wake up." Clara was off her horse before it fully stopped. Her medical bag was in her hands before she consciously reached for it. 3 years of nursing on the frontier had trained her body to move while her mind was still catching up. "Move aside, son. Let me see him." "Are you a doctor?" "Close enough. What happened?" "Horse kicked him. I saw it through the window. He went down, and he tried to crawl back, but he..." The boy's voice broke. Is he dead? Is my pa dead? Clara pressed her fingers to the man's neck. Pulse. Weak, thready, but there. He's alive. Help me turn him over. Together they rolled him onto his back. Clara sucked in a breath. The wound on his head was ugly, deep. Bone might be cracked. Definitely a concussion. Possibly worse. But the cold was the immediate danger. His lips were blue. His breathing was shallow. Much longer in this snow, and the wound wouldn't matter. We need to get him inside. Can you help me? I'm strong. Ma always said I was strong for my age. Good. I need you to be strong now. Take his feet. I'll take his shoulders. On 3. The boy handed the infant to Clara first. She looked down at the tiny face, red and screaming, and felt something twist in her chest. How old? 3 months. Her name's Hope. Ma died having her. God above. Clara tucked the baby inside her coat against her chest, where her body heat would keep it warm. 1, 2, 3. They dragged him. It wasn't graceful. It wasn't gentle. But they got him through the door and onto the floor of the cabin, and that was what mattered. Clara's eyes swept the room and her heart sank. Children everywhere. A toddler crying on the floor. 2 boys huddled together on a bed. A little girl with her thumb in her mouth, staring with huge eyes. Another child barely walking, clinging to a chair leg. How many? She asked the oldest boy. 7. I'm Eli. That's Tommy and Sam and Ruth and Grace and Maddie, and you're holding Hope. 7 children. 1 unconscious father. A storm that wouldn't quit. Clara had faced difficult situations before. This was something else entirely. Eli, I need hot water. Can you get the fire going? It's already going. I kept it lit like Pa taught me. Good boy. Get me water and clean cloths. Anything clean. And keep your brothers and sisters away. Your pa's going to be fine, but he's going to look scary for a bit. Understand? Eli nodded, his young face set with determination. He was 6 years old, and he'd just become Clara's second-in-command. She'd seen children age in an instant before. It never got easier to watch. She worked quickly, cleaning the wound, assessing the damage. The skull wasn't cracked, a miracle, but the concussion was severe. He'd need rest, watching, time. Ma'am. Clara looked up. Tommy, the 4-year-old, had crept closer despite Eli's efforts to keep him back. His eyes were fixed on his father's bloody face. Is Pa going to die like Ma did? The question hit Clara like a physical blow. She saw the terror in this child's eyes, the expectation of loss. He'd already learned that people you loved could disappear. He was waiting to learn it again. No, Clara said firmly. Your Pa is not going to die. I won't let him. Promise? Clara didn't make promises she couldn't keep. She'd learned that lesson the hard way. But looking at this child's face, she heard herself say, I promise. Tommy's shoulders dropped with relief. Okay, I believe you. Just like that. Complete trust in a stranger's word. Clara felt the weight of that trust settle onto her shoulders alongside everything else. She bandaged the wound, checked his pupils, elevated his head. There was nothing more she could do except wait for him to wake up. If he woke up. Concussions were unpredictable. Some people recovered within hours. Others never recovered at all. Eli, when did your father last eat? The boy's guilty expression told her everything. Yesterday, I think, maybe the day before. He always makes sure we eat first. Sometimes there's not enough left for him. Of course. Clara had seen it before. Parents sacrificing themselves bite by bite for their children, not realizing that their children needed them alive more than they needed a full belly. When did you all last eat? This morning. Pa was going to make breakfast, but then he went outside and... I'll make breakfast. You don't have to. Eli. Clara caught his eye. Your father can't take care of you right now. Someone has to. I'm going to do it until he's back on his feet. Do you understand? Yes, ma'am. Good. Now show me where the food is. There wasn't much. Some flour, salt pork, a few potatoes, dried beans. Clara had seen worse, but not by much. This family was barely surviving. One more setback, one sick animal, one failed hunt, one broken tool, and they wouldn't survive at all. She made porridge because it was quick and filling. The children ate like they hadn't seen food in days. Maybe they hadn't seen a real meal in days. There was a difference between eating and being fed. "What's your name?" Ruth the 2-year-old asked with her mouth full. "Clara. Clara Hayes." "Are you an angel?" "What me? Pa prays sometimes, when he thinks we're asleep. He asks God to send help. Are you the help God sent?" Clara had stopped believing in divine intervention around the same time she'd stopped believing in happily ever after. But looking at these children's faces, she couldn't bring herself to say that. "Maybe," she said. "Maybe I am." Jacob woke to pain. That was good. Dead men didn't feel pain. He tried to open his eyes. The light sent daggers through his skull. He groaned, turned his head, and immediately regretted it. "Don't move." A woman's voice, firm, unfamiliar. "The children are fine, all 7 of them. They've been fed and cleaned and are currently being watched by your oldest, while I make sure you're not going to die on them." Jacob forced his eyes open despite the agony. A face swam into focus. Sharp features, green eyes, hair that might have been red if he could see colors properly. She was bending over him with an expression that was equal parts concern and irritation. "Who?" "Clara Hayes. I'm a nurse. I found you half dead in the snow about 4 hours ago. You're lucky that horse kicked you in the hardest part of your skull, or you'd be having this conversation with St. Peter instead of me. My children are fine. I told you that. Do you always make people repeat themselves? Or is that the concussion talking?" Jacob tried to sit up. Her hand pressed against his chest, pushing him back down. "I said, don't move. You have a severe concussion. Any sudden movements could make things worse. Do you want to leave those 7 children without both parents?" The words hit him like a second kick to the head. "I need to see them. They'll come to you. Once I'm sure you're not going to collapse in front of them and traumatize them even more than they already are." "You don't understand." "I understand perfectly, Mr. Brennan, Jacob Brennan." "Mr. Brennan, I understand that you're a widower with 7 children under the age of 7. I understand that you've been trying to do the impossible by yourself. I understand that you've been starving yourself so they can eat, working yourself to exhaustion, and ignoring every warning sign your body has given you." Her eyes were hard. "How am I doing so far?" Jacob couldn't argue with any of it. "How long have you been here?" 4 hours. Long enough to see that your children are desperate for attention. Your cupboard is nearly bare, and you're about 3 days from complete collapse, even without the head injury. How were you planning to survive the winter?" "Mr. Brennan, I was handling it." "Were you? Is that what you call what I found handling it?" "They're alive. That's what matters." "Alive isn't enough." Clara's voice softened slightly. "Children don't just need to survive. They need to thrive. And they can't do that when their father is working himself to death and still failing. I'm not failing. Your 4-year-old asked me if you were going to die like his mother did. Your 6-year-old knows how to care for an infant because he's had to. Your 2-year-old asked if I was an angel sent by God because apparently you pray for help when you think they're asleep." Clara leaned closer. "You're drowning, Mr. Brennan. The only question is whether you're going to let someone throw you a rope or whether you're going to drag your children down with you." The silence stretched between them. Jacob wanted to be angry, wanted to defend himself, wanted to tell this stranger that she didn't know anything about his life, his struggles, his grief. But she was right. About all of it. "What do you want me to do?" The words came out broken, defeated. Clara's expression changed. The hardness melted into something else. Understanding maybe, or recognition. "Let me help. The storm's not stopping anytime soon. I can't leave even if I wanted to. Let me help you with the children until you're back on your feet." "I can't pay you. I didn't ask for payment." "Why would you help us? You don't know us." Clara was quiet for a moment. When she spoke, her voice was different, softer, raw. "Because I know what it's like to lose everything. Because I know what it's like to be alone when you shouldn't have to be. Because those children deserve better than watching their father die inches at a time." She stood up. "Rest now. I'll send Eli in to see you. The others can come one at a time once I'm sure you're stable. Miss Hayes." She paused at the doorway. "Thank you." She didn't turn around. "Don't thank me yet. You haven't seen what I'm going to make you do once you're healed." Then she was gone, and Jacob was alone with his throbbing head and the uncomfortable realization that for the first time since Martha died, someone else was in charge of his family. He should have felt threatened, should have felt defensive. Instead, he felt something he hadn't felt in 3 months: relief. "Pa!" Eli burst through the door like he'd been fired from a cannon. Behind him came Tommy, then Sam, then Ruth, toddling as fast as her short legs could carry her. Grace crawled in, and someone, Miss Hayes, probably carried Maddie and Hope. "Careful," Jacob said, as 7 small bodies tried to climb onto him simultaneously. "Pa's head hurts. Gentle." "We thought you were dead," Tommy said, his voice wobbling. "There was so much blood. Takes more than a horse kick to kill your old pa." "Miss Clara said you'd be okay." Eli's face was serious. "She promised. And she made us breakfast and cleaned Ruth up and got Maddie to stop crying, and she's nice, pa. She's really nice." "Is she now?" "She talks funny, though, uses big words." "She's educated. That's not the same as funny." "Is she going to stay?" Ruth asked, her thumb firmly in her mouth. "I want her to stay." Jacob looked toward the doorway where Clara Hayes stood with his youngest 2 in her arms. She'd managed to get Maddie calm, a miracle in itself. And Hope was actually sleeping. "Miss Hayes, how long do you reckon this storm will last?" 3 days at least, maybe 4. "And you're willing to stay that long, help with the children?" "I don't seem to have much choice. Unless you're planning to kick me out into a blizzard." "Wouldn't dream of it." "Then yes, I'll stay." Ruth immediately released Jacob's hand and toddled toward Clara, arms raised in the universal toddler demand to be picked up. Clara shifted the babies and somehow managed to scoop Ruth up too, balancing 3 children like she'd been doing it her whole life. "You've done this before," Jacob observed. "I'm a nurse. I've done a lot of things." "That's not what I meant." Clara met his eyes, and for a moment something flickered there. Something she wasn't ready to share. "Get some rest, Mr. Brennan. You'll need your strength." "For what?" "For when I put you to work. A head injury is no excuse for laziness." She turned and walked out, 3 children in her arms, leaving Jacob with the other 4, and a strange feeling in his chest. "Pa!" Eli was looking at him with concern. "Why are you smiling?" "Your head hurts." Jacob realized he was smiling. First time in 3 months. "I'm not sure, son. I'm not sure at all." So, that night, after the children were finally asleep, all 7 of them in beds and cradles and makeshift nests of blankets, Jacob lay awake listening. He could hear Clara in the next room, the soft sounds of her cleaning, organizing, making order out of the chaos he'd let his life become. She'd taken over without asking permission, just stepped in and started managing things. He should have resented it. His pride should have been wounded. Instead, he felt something loosen in his chest. Some knot he'd been carrying since Martha's eyes had closed for the last time. "Mr. Brennan." Clara's voice came from the doorway, soft so as not to wake the children. "Yes?" "I made broth. You need to eat something. Can you sit up?" He could, barely. She helped him anyway, her hands steady and impersonal, like she'd done this 1,000 times. She probably had. The broth was hot and salty, and the best thing he'd tasted in months. He drank it all without speaking. Better. Yes, thank you. You're welcome. She took the cup back. You should sleep now. Real sleep. I'll listen for the children. You don't have to. I know. I'm going to anyway. She moved toward the door. Miss Hayes. Yes. When the storm clears. What then? She was quiet for a long moment. When she answered, her voice was careful. Let's survive the storm first, Mr. Brennan. We can figure out what comes after when it stops snowing. Then she was gone, and Jacob was alone in the darkness, listening to the wind howl, and thinking about a stranger who'd ridden out of a blizzard and into his life, like the answer to a prayer he'd stopped believing anyone was listening to. Tomorrow, he'd worry about what it all meant. Tonight, for the first time in 3 months, he slept. The storm raged for 2 days. 2 days of Clara Hayes running Jacob Brennan's household like she'd been born to it. 2 days of watching a stranger become something else entirely. You're doing it wrong. Clara didn't look up from the bread she was kneading. Excuse me. The bread. Martha used to add a bit of honey. Makes it softer for the children. Do you have honey? No. Then I'm not doing it wrong. I'm doing it with what we have. Jacob opened his mouth to argue. Closed it. She was right. She was always right, and it was starting to irritate him. Pa, Miss Clara taught me a new song. Eli announced, carrying hope, with the confidence of a much older child. Want to hear it? Maybe later, son. It's about a frog. It's funny. Later. Eli's face fell. Clara noticed. Of course she noticed. She noticed everything. Eli, why don't you sing it for your brothers and sisters? I bet Ruth would love to hear about the frog. The boy brightened immediately and scampered off. Clara's eyes met Jacob's, and there was something in them. Judgment, maybe, or disappointment. What? He demanded. Nothing. Don't do that. If you've got something to say, say it. Clara's hands stilled on the dough. When did you last play with your children, Mr. Brennan? I don't have time to play. I have a ranch to run. You can't run a ranch from bed. I'm getting better. You are. And while you're getting better, your children are desperate for your attention, not your provision. Your attention. They have my attention. Do they? When Eli wanted to sing for you just now, what did you say? Jacob's jaw tightened. I said later. And yesterday, when Tommy wanted to show you the picture he drew. Later. And this morning when Ruth tried to climb into your lap. She could have hurt my head. She's 2 years old. She wanted her father to hold her. Clara turned back to the bread, her movements sharp. Children don't understand later, Mr. Brennan. They only understand now. And right now they think their father doesn't want them. That's not true. Then prove it. The words hung between them. Jacob wanted to be angry, wanted to tell her she had no right to judge how he raised his own children, but the truth was a splinter under his skin working its way deeper. Eli, he called out. Come sing me that song about the frog. The speed with which his son appeared told Jacob everything. The boy had been waiting, hoping. How many times had he waited and hoped only to be told later? Really, Pa, you want to hear it? Really? The song was simple. Silly. Something about a frog who couldn't find his pond. But Eli sang it with such joy, such desperate happiness at having his father's full attention, that Jacob felt something crack in his chest. When had he stopped seeing them? When had they become just problems to solve instead of children to love? That was wonderful, Clara said when Eli finished. Where did you learn it? Ma used to sing it. I remembered all the words. The mention of Martha sent a ripple through the room. Tommy's face crumpled. Sam went quiet. Even baby Hope seemed to sense the shift. Your ma had a beautiful voice, Jacob said softly. She'd be proud you remembered. Do you think she can hear me from heaven? I think? Jacob's voice caught. I think she hears every song you sing." Eli nodded solemnly. Then he did something that broke Jacob completely. He climbed into his father's lap, careful of the healing head, and pressed his small body against Jacob's chest. "I miss her, Pa. I miss her so much." "I know, son. I miss her too. But Miss Clara's here now, and she's nice, and she makes good food, and she doesn't cry at night like you do." Jacob's eyes shot to Clara. She was very deliberately not looking at him, her attention fixed on the bread with impossible intensity. "I didn't know you could hear that," Jacob said quietly. "The walls are thin, Pa. I hear everything." God. His 6-year-old had been lying awake listening to his father sob in the darkness, carrying that burden on top of everything else. "I'm sorry, Eli. I didn't mean to scare you." "You didn't scare me. You just made me sad. Sad that you're sad and I can't fix it." "It's not your job to fix it." "Then whose job is it?" Jacob didn't have an answer. He looked at Clara again, and this time she was looking back. Something passed between them. Understanding, maybe. Or recognition. "Sometimes," Clara said carefully, "sadness just needs time. And help. Your pa is getting both now." "Because you're here?" "Because I'm here." Eli considered this. "Are you going to stay forever?" The question landed like a stone in still water. Clara's hands faltered on the dough. The storm will end soon. I have places I need to be." "But what if Pa needs more help?" "Your pa is getting stronger every day. He won't need help much longer." "But what if we need you? What if we want you to stay?" "Eli." Jacob's voice was gentle but firm. "Miss Clara has her own life. We can't ask her to give that up." "Why not?" "Because that's not how things work." "But Ma used to say that God sends people when you need them most. Miss Clara came when we needed someone most. Maybe God wants her to stay." The silence stretched. Clara had stopped pretending to work on the bread. Her face was very still, very controlled, but Jacob could see something moving behind her eyes. "Let's not put Miss Clara on the spot," he said. "She's already done more for us than we had any right to expect. We should be grateful for what she's given, not demanding more." "I'm not demanding. I'm asking." "Same thing, son." "It's not. Demanding is when you say someone has to do something. Asking is when you say please." Eli turned his serious eyes to Clara. "Please, Miss Clara, please stay." Clara opened her mouth, closed it. For the first time since Jacob had met her, she seemed at a loss for words. "I need to check on the bread," she finally said, and fled to the kitchen area. Eli watched her go with confusion. "Did I say something wrong, Pa?" "No, son. You said something very right. Sometimes that's harder to hear than something wrong." The rest of the day passed in uneasy quiet. Clara was efficient but distant, as if Eli's question had built a wall she couldn't figure out how to climb. The children sensed the change and grew restless. By evening, Tommy was in tears because Sam had taken his blanket. Grace was refusing to eat. Maddie wouldn't stop crying, and Hope had developed a cough that made Jacob's blood run cold. "It's just the cold air," Clara said when she caught him watching the baby with fear in his eyes. "Keep her warm, and she'll be fine." Martha died of childbed fever. What if Hope? "This isn't childbed fever. It's a mild cough. Babies get them all the time." "But what if you're wrong?" Clara stopped what she was doing. She walked to where Jacob sat, knelt before him, so they were eye level, and spoke with absolute certainty. "I'm not wrong. I've seen childbed fever. I've seen infant pneumonia. I've seen croup and whooping cough and influenza. This is none of those things. Hope has a cold. She'll be uncomfortable for a few days and then she'll be fine. Do you understand me?" Jacob searched her face for doubt, found none. "How can you be so sure?" "Because I've buried children, Mr. Brennan. Enough to know the difference between sick and dying. Your daughter is sick. She is not dying." The words hit him somewhere deep. "You've buried children." "Not my own. I don't have any of my own, but as a nurse Yes, I've buried children. I'm sorry. So am I. Clara stood breaking the moment. Now, I need to make a steam tent for Hope. It'll help her breathe easier. Can you hold her while I get things ready? She placed the baby in his arms. Hope was so small, so fragile. Her little chest rose and fell with each congested breath, and Jacob felt terror grip him. I can't lose her, he whispered. She's all I have left of Martha. You're not going to lose her. And Mr. Brennan? Clara paused on her way to the stove. She's not all you have left of Martha. You have 6 other children who carry pieces of their mother in them. Eli has her determination. Tommy has her temper. Ruth has her eyes. Don't put all of Martha's memory into one child. Spread it around. It's safer that way. She was right. Again. Jacob was really starting to hate how often she was right. The storm finally broke on the 3rd morning. Jacob woke to something he hadn't heard in days' silence. No wind howling. No snow battering the windows. Just quiet. He pushed himself up from the bed, testing his balance. The world stayed steady. His head throbbed but didn't spin. Progress. Clara was already up, of course. He found her at the window, looking out at the white world the storm had left behind. It's over, she said without turning around. Seems like it. The passes should be clear by tomorrow. I can leave in the morning. Something twisted in Jacob's chest. Something he wasn't ready to name. You could stay longer. Rest before you travel. I've been resting for 3 days. Any more rest and I'll go mad. Where are you headed? Helena. There's a hospital there. They're expecting me. Expecting you 3 days ago. They'll understand. Storms happen. Jacob moved to stand beside her at the window. This close, he could smell soap and wood smoke and something else. Something that was just her. What if I asked you to stay? Clara went very still. Why would you do that? Because my children need someone. Because I can't do this alone. Because... He stopped. The words felt too big, too dangerous. Because what? Because I don't want you to go. The silence stretched between them. Clara's hands tightened on the windowsill. Mr. Brennan. Jacob. My name is Jacob. Jacob. She said his name like she was testing it. I can't stay here indefinitely. I have obligations. A career. A life that doesn't involve 7 children and a broken-down widower. That's not what I was going to say. But it's what you were thinking. Clara turned to face him. Her eyes were bright with something he couldn't identify. What I was thinking is that you don't know anything about me. You don't know where I come from, or why I'm traveling alone, or what I'm running from. You just know I'm useful, and usefulness isn't enough of a foundation for what you're suggesting. What am I suggesting? I don't know. That's the problem. Jacob's heart was pounding. He shouldn't say what he was about to say. It was too soon, too desperate, too insane. But the thought of watching her ride away, of going back to drowning alone. Stay. Not forever. Just stay longer. Help me figure out how to do this. How to be a father to 7 children without losing my mind. And in exchange, room and board. Whatever wages I can scrape together once the ranch is profitable again. That's not what I meant. Clara's voice was soft. I meant, what would people say? A woman living alone with a widower. The gossip alone would destroy any chance I have at respectable employment. She was right. Of course she was right. Out here, reputation was everything. A woman's virtue was her currency, and spending it recklessly meant poverty. Marry me! The words came out before Jacob could stop them. Clara's jaw dropped. What? Marry me. It's practical. You need respectability, I need help. We both need security. It makes sense. You can't be serious. I'm completely serious. You don't even know me. I know enough. I know you're capable and kind and good with my children. I know you work harder than anyone I've ever met. I know you don't suffer fools, and you don't make promises you can't keep. Jacob took a breath. I know I've slept better the past 3 nights than I have in 3 months just knowing you were there. Clara stared at him. You're concussed. You're not thinking clearly. My head is fine. Well, not fine, but clear enough. I know what I'm asking, and I know it's insane. But sometimes insane is all you've got. A marriage of convenience, if that's what you want to call it. What would you call it? Survival. Partnership. 2 people who can't make it alone deciding to make it together. Clara turned back to the window. Her shoulders were rigid, her breathing unsteady. I was engaged once, back in Philadelphia. He was a doctor, respected, handsome. Everything a woman is supposed to want. Jacob waited. He called off the wedding 2 weeks before the ceremony. Said he'd found someone more suitable. Someone whose father hadn't died in debt and scandal. Someone who could advance his career instead of hindering it. He sounds like a fool. He was practical. Like you're being practical now. That's not, isn't it? Clara's voice was bitter. You need a mother for your children. I need a respectable position. It's economics, Mr. Brennan. Love doesn't enter into it. I never said anything about love. No, you didn't. She turned to face him, and her eyes were wet. That's exactly my point. At least Daniel pretended he loved me before he threw me away. You're not even pretending. I won't lie to you, Clara, ever. That's the one thing I can promise. And if I want more than honesty, then I'll try. That's all I can offer. I'll try to be what you need, whatever that turns out to be. Clara laughed, but there was no humor in it. You're asking me to gamble my entire future on, I'll try. I'm asking you to take a chance. Same chance I'm taking. Same chance anyone takes when they build a life with another person. I barely know you. So stay. Get to know me. The children, the ranch, the life I'm offering. If after a month you want to leave, I won't stop you. But give it a month first. Give us a month. And if after a month I still want to leave, then I'll help you pack myself. Clara searched his face, looking for what Jacob didn't know. Whatever she found made her close her eyes and shake her head slowly. This is insane. Yes. We don't love each other. Not yet. You can't promise that will change. No, but I can promise I'll try. You keep saying that. Because it's true. Clara was quiet for so long that Jacob thought she'd refuse. Thought he'd pushed too hard, too fast, asked for too much from a woman who'd already given more than he deserved. Then she opened her eyes, and something in them had shifted. 1 month. Jacob's heart stopped. What? 1 month. I'll stay for 1 month. Help with the children, help you recover, help you figure out how to manage this ranch. At the end of that month, we'll discuss where things stand. And marriage. We'll discuss that too, if it still makes sense, if we both still want it. I'll still want it. You don't know that. I do. Clara's lips twitched, almost a smile. You're stubborn, Mr. Brennan. Jacob. Jacob. This time she said it warmer. You're stubborn, Jacob. Had to be. Raised 7 children, didn't I? You raised 6. The 7th isn't raised yet. Then stay and help me finish the job. Clara shook her head again, but this time there was something like wonder in her expression. I'm going to regret this. Maybe. Or maybe you'll look back on this moment as the best decision you ever made. Ever the optimist. Ever the survivor. They stood there at the window, the white world stretching out before them, and something new stretched between them too. Not love, not yet, but the possibility of it, the seed of it, the hope. I should start breakfast, Clara said finally. The children will be up soon. Clara. Yes. Thank you. For saying yes. She looked at him for a long moment. Then she did something unexpected. She reached out and touched his face, her fingers gentle against his jaw. Don't make me regret it, she said. Then she was gone. Jacob stayed at the window, his cheek burning where she'd touched him, and wondered what the hell he'd just done. But for the first time in 3 months, wondering felt like hope instead of dread. And maybe, just maybe, that was enough to start. The children took the news with varying degrees of understanding. Eli was solemn and pleased. Tommy wanted to know if Miss Clara would make pancakes every day now. Ruth just wanted to be held. "Is Miss Clara going to be our new ma?" Sam asked, his 4-year-old eyes wide. "She's going to stay with us for a while, help us out. We'll see what happens after that." "But I want her to be our ma." "Sam, I want someone to be our ma. It's not fair that everyone has a ma and we don't." The words hit Jacob like a physical blow. He knelt down to his son's level, his head protesting the movement. "I know it's not fair. Nothing about this is fair. But Miss Clara being here, that's a good thing. Let's just be grateful for that right now, okay?" "Okay." Sam's lower lip trembled. "But can you tell her I want her to stay? Can you tell her I'll be good if she stays?" "You're already good, son. The best." "Then why did Ma leave?" "She didn't leave. She had to go somewhere we can't follow. But she didn't want to. She wanted to stay with you more than anything." "How do you know?" "Because she told me, right before she went. She said, 'Take care of our babies, Jacob. They're the best thing we ever did.'" Sam's eyes filled with tears. She said that. The boy threw himself into Jacob's arms. Jacob held him tight, ignoring the pain in his head, and met Clara's eyes across the room. She was watching them with an expression he couldn't read. Something raw and complicated, and maybe a little bit broken. Then she turned away, and the moment was gone. That night, after the children were asleep, Clara found Jacob on the porch. The air was bitter cold, but the sky was clear for the first time in days. "You shouldn't be out here. Your head isn't fully healed." "I needed air." She came to stand beside him, her breath fogging in the cold. "What you told Sam? About what Martha said? Was that true? Every word?" "She sounds like she was a remarkable woman." "She was. She deserved better than what I gave her." "What do you mean?" Jacob was quiet for a moment. "I got her pregnant 7 times in 8 years. I knew it was dangerous. I knew her body needed rest. But she wanted more children, and I wanted her happy, and I told myself that wanting was enough. That's not just on you. She made choices too. But I'm the one who has to live with them. I'm the one who watched her die because I couldn't say no." Clara turned to look at him. "Do you blame yourself?" "Every single day." "Does it help?" "No." "Then why do you keep doing it?" "Because I don't know how to stop." Clara was silent for a long moment. Then she said, "When Daniel broke our engagement, I blamed myself for years. Told myself I wasn't pretty enough, smart enough, good enough. That if I'd just been more of something, he would have stayed. That's ridiculous. He was a fool. I know that now. But knowing and believing aren't the same thing." "What changed?" "I got tired. Tired of carrying blame that wasn't mine. Tired of making his choice about my worth." She looked up at the stars. "I decided that if he couldn't see what I had to offer, that was his failure, not mine. And now I'm standing on a porch in Montana Territory, considering marrying a man I've known for 3 days, because 6 of his children called me Ma today, and I didn't correct them." Jacob's heart stuttered. "They called you Ma." "Ruth did it first, then Tommy, then Sam. Eli told them to stop, but I told him it was all right." "Is it all right? With you?" Clara took a long, shuddering breath. "It shouldn't be. It's too fast, too much, too complicated. But when Ruth looked up at me with those big eyes and said, 'Ma, I'm hungry,' something in me just shifted, like a key turning in a lock I didn't know I had." "Clara, don't." She held up a hand. Don't say anything. I'm not ready to name it yet. Whatever this is, whatever it might become, I need time. I need a month. Yes, a month. She wrapped her arms around herself. Ask me again at the end of the month. If you still want me, then if I still want to stay, then we'll talk about forever. And until then we take it one day at a time, 1 hour at a time, one crisis at a time. There'll be plenty of those. I know. That's why I'm staying. She went inside, then leaving Jacob alone with the cold and the stars, and a feeling in his chest he'd thought he'd never feel again. Not love, not yet, but something dangerously close to hope. 2 weeks into Clara's stay, the town came calling. Jacob heard the horses before he saw them. 3 riders moving fast up the snow-packed trail toward the cabin. His hand went instinctively to the rifle above the door. "Stay inside," he told Clara. "Keep the children quiet." "Who is it?" "Don't know yet. Nothing good comes riding that fast in winter." He stepped onto the porch as the riders approached. 3 men. He recognized 2 of them, Sheriff Dan Holbrook and the pastor Reverend Mills. The third was a stranger in an expensive coat. "Jacob." The sheriff tipped his hat. "Heard you had some trouble. News travels fast. Word is you've got a woman living here, unmarried woman, alone with you and your children." Jacob's jaw tightened. Word should mind its own business. It's not that simple. Reverend Mills dismounted, his face troubled. "Folks are talking, Jacob, saying things that could hurt Miss Hayes's reputation, hurt your children." "What kinds of things?" "The kind that don't bear repeating in polite company." The stranger stepped forward. He was tall, well-fed, with the look of a man who'd never worked a day in his life. "I don't believe we've met. I'm Vernon Shaw. I own the land east of your property." "I know who you are." "Then you know I'm a man of some influence in this territory. When I heard about your situation, I felt obligated to investigate." "Investigate what exactly?" "Whether Miss Hayes is here voluntarily. Whether she's being compromised." Jacob's hands curled into fists. "You watch your mouth, Shaw. I meant no offense. I'm simply concerned for the lady's welfare. A woman alone stranded with a widower and 7 children. It raises questions. The only question it raises is why you're on my property asking them." The cabin door opened. Clara stepped out, her chin high, her eyes blazing. "Gentlemen, I understand you have concerns about my presence here." "Miss Hayes." The sheriff tipped his hat again. "We didn't mean to disturb you. And yet here you are, disturbing me." Clara moved to stand beside Jacob. "I am here of my own free will. Mr. Brennan has been nothing but honorable. I came upon him injured in a storm, and stayed to help with his children. That is the entirety of the scandal you've ridden all this way to investigate." Vernon Shaw's eyes traveled over her with an appreciation that made Jacob's blood boil. "A nurse, I'm told. From Philadelphia." "That's correct." "What brings a Philadelphia nurse to Montana territory?" "I don't see how that's any of your business, Mr. Shaw." "I'm making it my business. A woman of your obvious qualities shouldn't be wasting herself on a struggling ranch with 7 mouths to feed." Shaw smiled, and it didn't reach his eyes. "I could offer you employment, respectable employment. My own household is in need of someone with medical training. I already have employment. With Brennan, he can't afford to pay you what you're worth. He pays me in what matters. Respect, gratitude, a roof over my head. I could offer you all that and more." Clara's voice went cold. "I'm not interested. Think carefully, Miss Hayes. Brennan is a sinking ship. 7 children, a failing ranch, a reputation that's about to be destroyed by gossip. Is that really what you want to chain yourself to?" "What I want," Clara said slowly, "is for you to get off this property before I forget I'm a lady." Shaw's smile didn't waver. "I'll give you time to reconsider. When you come to your senses, you know where to find me." He mounted his horse and rode off without another word. The sheriff and Reverend Mills lingered. "Jacob," the Reverend said quietly, "the talk is getting bad. If you mean to keep Miss Hayes here, you need to make it official. Soon. Define soon. Before Sunday. That's when the Women's Auxiliary meets. Once Mrs. Patterson gets hold of this story, it'll spread to every corner of the territory. Mrs. Patterson can go to hell." "Jacob." "Apologies, Reverend, but I won't be bullied into marriage by small-minded gossips." Clara's hand touched his arm. "Can we speak privately?" They left the men on the porch and stepped inside. The children were huddled in the corner, Eli holding Hope, the others clustered around him like frightened chicks. "What did those men want, Pa?" Tommy's voice was small. "Nothing important. Go play with your brothers." "But, Tommy, go!" The children scattered. Clara waited until they were out of earshot before speaking. "He's right. The Reverend. If we don't act soon, this will destroy any chance I have at a respectable life. I won't let that happen. You can't stop it. Not unless—" She took a breath. "Not unless we give them what they want. Marriage. Yes. Clara, I asked you to wait a month, to be sure. It's only been 2 weeks. 2 weeks is long enough. Long enough for what? Long enough to know." Clara's voice was steady, but her eyes were bright. "I've watched you with your children. I've seen how you struggle, how you sacrifice, how you love them even when you're too exhausted to stand. I've seen the man you are, Jacob Brennan, and I've decided." "Decided what?" "That I'd rather take a chance on you than play it safe with someone like Vernon Shaw." Jacob's heart was pounding. "You're sure? This isn't just about the gossip." "The gossip forced my hand, but the decision was already made. I just hadn't found the courage to say it." "Clara, don't." She held up a hand. "Don't make this into something romantic. I'm being practical. We both need this. The children need this. It makes sense." "Is that all it is? Sense?" Clara looked away. "Does it matter?" "It matters to me." She was quiet for a long moment. When she spoke again, her voice was barely above a whisper. "When Ruth calls me Ma, my heart breaks and heals at the same time. When Eli looks at me like I'm the answer to his prayers, I want to be worthy of that faith. When Hope falls asleep in my arms, I forget she's not mine." She finally met his eyes. "Is that love? I don't know. But it's something. Something I haven't felt in a very long time. Something I'm not willing to walk away from." Jacob crossed the distance between them, took her face in his hands. "Then don't walk away. Stay. Marry me. Not because of gossip or practicality or anything else. Marry me because you want to." "I want to." "Say it again." "I want to marry you, Jacob Brennan. God help me, I do." He kissed her. It wasn't gentle or careful or appropriate. It was desperate and hungry and full of things neither of them knew how to say. Clara kissed him back with equal intensity, her hands fisting in his shirt, her body pressed against his. "Pa!" They broke apart. Eli stood in the doorway, Hope in his arms, his expression somewhere between confused and hopeful. "Are you and Miss Clara kissing?" "Yes." "Does that mean she's staying?" "Yes. Forever." Jacob looked at Clara. She was flushed, breathing hard, more beautiful than he'd ever seen her. "Forever," he said. Eli's face split into a grin. "Tommy Sam, Ruth, Miss Clara's, staying forever." The cabin erupted into chaos. Children running, shouting, crying with joy. Tommy attached himself to Clara's leg and wouldn't let go. Ruth demanded to be picked up. Sam wanted to know if they could have cake. One thing at a time, Clara laughed, trying to manage the onslaught. "We need to tell the Reverend, and plan a wedding, and nothing." Jacob pulled her close, children and all. "We'll figure it out, together." The wedding happened 3 days later, not because they wanted to rush, but because the gossip was spreading faster than they could contain it. Mrs. Patterson told everyone at the general store, Martha Fletcher reported when she came to help Clara prepare. Said you were a woman of loose morals who'd trapped a grieving widower. Charming woman. I set her straight. Told her you were the bravest person I'd ever met, staying alone with 7 children and an injured man, risking your reputation to save lives. Did she listen? Of course not. But her husband did. He's not speaking to her, which is satisfaction enough. Clara laughed despite herself. I like you, Martha Fletcher. Good, because I'm going to be your only friend in this territory for a while. The other women will come around eventually, but until then you're stuck with me. I can think of worse fates. The ceremony was small, just the Fletchers, Dr. Whitmore, and the children. Reverend Mills performed the service with more warmth than Clara had expected given the circumstances. Do you, Clara Rose Hayes, take this man to be your lawfully wedded husband? Clara looked at Jacob. He was wearing his best shirt, which was still worn at the elbows. His hair was combed for once. His eyes were fixed on her with an intensity that made her knees weak. I do. And do you, Jacob Thomas Brennan, take this woman to be your lawfully wedded wife? I do. Then by the power vested in me by God and the Montana Territory, I now pronounce you man and wife. You may kiss your bride. The kiss was soft this time, sweet, a promise rather than a hunger. Pa kissed Miss Clara again, Tommy announced loudly. Does that mean they're married now? Yes, son, it does. So she's really our ma for real. Clara knelt down to Tommy's level. For real. If you'll have me. I'll have you. Tommy threw his arms around her neck. I'll have you forever and ever. The other children swarmed in. Even Eli, who usually held himself apart, let Clara pull him into the embrace. For a moment, they were just a family. Messy and complicated and imperfect, but a family. Then Hope started crying, and reality reasserted itself. I'll take her, Jacob offered. No, I've got her. Clara scooped up the baby, settling her against her shoulder with practiced ease. You deal with the cake. I heard Sam threatening to eat it all himself. The evening passed in a blur of celebration and exhaustion. By the time the children were finally in bed and the Fletchers had gone home, Clara was swaying on her feet. Come to bed, Jacob said. The words hung between them. They hadn't discussed this part. The wedding night. The expectations. Jacob. To sleep. Just sleep. It's been a long day. Clara nodded relief, and something else flickering across her face. Just sleep. They lay in the darkness side by side, not touching, but acutely aware of each other's presence. This is strange, Clara whispered. Very. I've never shared a bed before. Neither have I. I mean, I have, but not with. Not since Martha. Do you think of her when you look at me? Sometimes. Less than I expected. Is that good or bad? I don't know. Good, I think. It means I'm seeing you as you, not as her replacement. Clara turned her head to look at him. I don't want to replace her. I want to be something new, something different. You are. You're completely different from Martha. In what way? She was soft, gentle, never raised her voice, never argued. You're difficult, strong, stubborn, fierce. Jacob reached out, touched her face in the darkness. I never knew I needed that, but I do. Clara caught his hand, held it against her cheek. Jacob, I need to tell you something. What? I'm scared. Of what? Of how much I want this. I've spent years protecting myself, building walls, telling myself I didn't need anyone, and now here I am in bed with a man I've known for 3 weeks, wearing his ring, raising his children. Her voice cracked. What if I'm not enough? What if I fail them? You won't. You can't know that. I can. Because I've watched you for 3 weeks. I've seen you hold Hope through croup and calm Tommy through tantrums and teach Eli to read better. I've seen you work yourself to exhaustion and get up the next morning and do it all again. You're already enough, Clara. You've been enough since the moment you rode up to my door." She was crying. He could feel the tears against his palm. "Come here," he said softly. She moved into his arms, her head on his chest, her body trembling with sobs she'd been holding back for God knew how long. Jacob held her tight, stroking her hair, letting her fall apart. "I've got you," he murmured. "You don't have to be strong all the time. Not with me. Let me hold you up sometimes. That's what partners do. I don't know how to let anyone hold me up. Then I'll teach you, same way you're teaching me to be a better father." Clara's sobs slowly quieted. Her breathing evened out, but she didn't pull away. "Jacob." "Yes. Thank you for not expecting anything tonight. I'll never expect anything you're not ready to give. That's a promise. And if I'm never ready, then I'll spend the rest of my life just holding you. That would be enough." She lifted her head, found his lips in the darkness. The kiss was different from the others. Tender, searching, full of questions neither of them knew how to ask. "It's not that I don't want to," she whispered against his mouth. "I just need time." "Take all the time you need. I'm not going anywhere." She kissed him again, longer this time, deeper. When she finally pulled back, there was something new in her eyes. "Soon," she said. "Not tonight, but soon. I'll be here." She settled back against his chest, and within minutes she was asleep. Jacob lay awake longer, listening to her breathe, feeling the weight of her in his arms, and wondering how he'd gotten so lucky. 3 weeks ago, he'd been dying in the snow. Now he had a wife who challenged him, children who adored her, and something that felt dangerously like hope. Maybe that's how life worked. Maybe you had to reach the bottom before you could start climbing back up. Whatever came next, he wouldn't face it alone. And that made all the difference. The first test came 2 days later. Jacob was in the barn when he heard Clara scream. He'd never moved so fast in his life. By the time he reached the cabin, he was half convinced he'd find blood-death catastrophe. What he found was worse. Vernon Shaw standing in his kitchen. "Get out." Now, Brennan. Is that any way to treat a neighbor?" Shaw hadn't moved from where he stood, too close to Clara, his hand on her arm. "I was just congratulating your wife on her fortuitous marriage." "I said get out." "I heard you. I'm choosing to ignore you." Shaw's grip on Clara tightened. "Mrs. Brennan and I were having a conversation about her future." "Her future is with me." "Is it, I wonder?" Shaw's eyes never left Clara's face. "You see, I've done some research, made some inquiries back in Philadelphia. Fascinating what one can learn about a person's past when one has resources." Clara had gone pale. "You have no right." "I have every right. When a woman of questionable history installs herself in my territory, I make it my business to know who she is." Shaw smiled. "Shall I tell your husband what I discovered, or would you prefer to do it yourself?" "There's nothing to tell. Nothing." "What about the fire? The one that killed 3 patients at Philadelphia General? The one you were blamed for?" Jacob went cold. "Clara, it wasn't my fault." Her voice was shaking. "The investigation cleared me. There was a gas leak. I tried to save them. You tried and failed. 3 people died because Clara Hayes made a mistake." "That's not true." "Isn't it? The hospital disagreed. That's why you left Philadelphia. That's why you came west, running from your past just like all the other misfits and failures who end up out here." "Get your hand off my wife." Shaw's smile widened. "Or what?" Jacob moved before he could think. His fist connected with Shaw's jaw, sending the man staggering backward. Pain exploded through Jacob's hand, but he didn't care. "I told you to get out." Shaw touched his lip, came away with blood. His smile never wavered. You'll regret that, Brennan. I promise you. The only thing I regret is not hitting you harder. Now get off my property before I get my rifle. Shaw straightened his coat, adjusted his hat. This isn't over. Not by a long shot. I always get what I want, and right now I want her. His eyes found Clara. Think about my offer. A woman with your past can't afford to be picky about her future. He walked out. Jacob waited until the sound of hoofbeats faded before turning to Clara. Tell me. Jacob. Tell me the truth. All of it. Clara sank into a chair, her face in her hands. There was a fire. 2 years ago. Gas lamp exploded in the patient ward. I was on duty. And I tried to get them out. There were 5 patients in that room. I saved 2. The other 3... Her voice broke. I couldn't reach them. The flames were too fast. That's not your fault. The hospital didn't agree. They said I should have noticed the leak sooner. Should have evacuated the ward before lighting the lamps. They said I was negligent. Were you... Clara lifted her head. Her eyes were red, devastated. I don't know. I've asked myself that question every day for 2 years. I've replayed that night 1,000 times. Maybe there were signs I should have seen. Maybe if I'd been more careful, more attentive. Maybe doesn't mean you were at fault. It doesn't mean I wasn't. Jacob knelt before her, took her hands. Clara, look at me. Look at me. She met his eyes. I don't care what happened in Philadelphia. I don't care what Shaw thinks he knows. I care about who you are now. The woman who saved my life. The woman who's raising my children. The woman I married. But Jacob, did you set that fire? No. Did you do everything you could to save those patients? Yes. Then that's enough. That's all I need to know. Clara's face crumpled. How can you forgive me so easily? There's nothing to forgive. You're not guilty of anything except being in the wrong place at the wrong time. Jacob pulled her into his arms. Shaw is trying to use your past to control you. Don't let him. He'll tell everyone. The whole territory will know. Then they'll know, and they'll see what I see. A woman who survived tragedy and kept going. A woman who came west to start over and found a family that needed her. He held her tighter. That's not weakness, Clara. That's strength. She clung to him, shaking. I should have told you. Maybe, but it wouldn't have changed anything. You don't know that. I do. Because I know who you are, not who you were. Who you are right now in this moment in this family. That's what matters. Clara pulled back, searched his face. You really believe that? I really believe that. She kissed him. Hard. Desperate. Like she was trying to convince herself of something. I love you, she whispered against his mouth. Jacob's heart stopped. What? I love you. I know it's too soon. I know we said this was practical, but I can't help it anymore. I love you, Jacob Brennan. Clara, you don't have to say it back. I just needed you to know. Clara. He cupped her face, forced her to look at him. I love you too. Her breath caught. You do. I think I have since you told my 6-year-old that his song about a frog was wonderful. I just didn't have the courage to admit it. She laughed through her tears. That's a terrible reason to fall in love. It's the best reason. You saw my children for who they are. You made them feel valued. That's everything. Jacob, marry me. We're already married. Then marry me again, in our hearts. Not because of gossip or practicality, because we choose each other. Clara's face softened. I choose you. I choose you too. They held each other in the kitchen of their small cabin, the sounds of their children playing in the next room, the threat of Vernon Shaw looming on the horizon. But for this moment, none of that mattered. They had each other. They had their family. Everything else they would face together. Vernon Shaw made good on his threat within the week. Clara found out at the general store when Mrs. Patterson refused to serve her. "We don't sell to women of your kind." "My kind? Murderers. That's what Mr. Shaw says you are. Killed 3 people in Philadelphia and ran west to escape justice." Clara's hands trembled, but her voice stayed steady. "That's not what happened. Isn't it the whole town knows now? Every woman in the auxiliary, every family in the territory." Mrs. Patterson's eyes were cold with righteous satisfaction. "You should have stayed wherever you came from. We don't want your kind here." Clara left without the supplies she'd come for. She made it halfway home before she had to stop and vomit in the snow. Jacob found her there, bent over, shaking. Clara, what happened?" "He told everyone. Shaw, the whole town knows about Philadelphia." "I'll kill him." "No." Clara straightened, wiping her mouth. "That's what he wants. He wants you to do something stupid so he can destroy you." "Then what? We just let him ruin your reputation." "My reputation was ruined the moment I stepped into your cabin. This just makes it official." "That's not true." "Isn't it?" Clara's laugh was bitter. "I'm the woman who seduced a grieving widower, the woman who killed 3 patients, the woman no decent person will speak to." Her voice broke. "What have I done to your family, Jacob? What have I done?" "You saved us. I've destroyed you." "No." Jacob took her face in his hands, forced her to look at him. "Listen to me. The people in that town don't matter. Their gossip doesn't matter. What matters is us, our family, our home. How can you say that the children will grow up as outcasts? No one will want to associate with them. Then we'll build our own community. The Fletchers stand with us. Dr. Whitmore stands with us. Anyone who matters stands with us. And everyone else. Everyone else can go to hell." Clara stared at him. Then something shifted in her expression, something hard replacing the despair. "You really don't care, do you? What they think of me? I care what's true. I care about you. The rest is noise. Jacob Brennan, you're either the bravest man I've ever met or the most foolish. Probably both." She kissed him, right there in the snow, fierce and desperate and full of something that felt like defiance. "Take me home," she whispered against his mouth. "Take me home to our children." He did. That night, after the children were asleep, Clara came to him differently. There was no hesitation in her touch, no fear in her eyes. "Are you sure?" Jacob asked. "I've never been more sure of anything." She showed him. With her hands, her mouth, her body. All the things she'd been too afraid to give, she gave freely now. Afterward they lay tangled together, breathing hard, transformed. "Clara, don't say anything, just hold me." He held her until she fell asleep. Then he held her some more, marveling at how something so broken could feel so whole. The morning brought new challenges. "Pa, I'm hungry." "I know, Tommy, breakfast is coming." "But I'm hungry now." "Tommy, I'll handle it." Clara appeared in the doorway, already dressed, already moving. "Come on, sweetheart, let's see what we can find." Jacob watched her go, wondering how she could seem so normal after everything that had happened, after what they'd shared. "She's different," Eli observed quietly from beside him. "What do you mean? Happier, but also sadder. Does that make sense?" "Not really. She looks at you different now, like you're something precious she's afraid to lose." Jacob stared at his 6-year-old son. "When did you get so observant?" "Ma used to say I had old eyes, said I saw too much for my age." "Your ma was right." Eli was quiet for a moment. Then, "Is Miss Clara going to leave us?" "What? No. Why would you think that? People leave. Ma left. What if Miss Clara leaves too? Jacob knelt down to his son's level. Your ma didn't want to leave. She had to. That's different. But what if Miss Clara has to leave? What if something happens? Nothing's going to happen. You don't know that. No, I don't. Jacob pulled his son into his arms. But I know that Miss Clara loves you, loves all of you. And I know that as long as I'm breathing, I'll fight to keep this family together. Promise. Promise. Eli held on tight. I don't want to lose anyone else, Pa. I can't. I know, son. Neither can I. 2 weeks later, Clara started getting sick. At first she hid it, slipping outside to vomit when she thought no one was watching, coming back with excuses about needing fresh air. Jacob noticed on the 3rd day. You're sick. I'm fine. You've thrown up every morning this week. It's nothing, probably something I ate. Clara. She wouldn't meet his eyes. I said I'm fine. But she wasn't fine. She was pale, exhausted, moving slower than usual. By the end of the week, even the children had noticed. Ma's sick, Ruth announced at dinner. She threw up in the snow. I saw her. Clara's face went white. Ruth, that's not... Are you going to die? Tommy's voice was tiny. Like our first Ma. No, sweetheart, I'm not going to die. Then why are you sick? Clara looked at Jacob. Something passed between them. Something that made his heart stop. Clara, can we talk privately? They left the children with Eli and stepped outside into the cold. Clara's breath came in short gasps. I think I'm pregnant. The words hit Jacob like a physical blow. What? I'm late. 2 weeks late. And the sickness and the exhaustion. She wrapped her arms around herself. I know the signs. But that's wonderful. Is it? Her voice cracked. Jacob, I'm terrified. Why? Because Martha died having hope. Because 3 patients died under my care. Because everything I touch seems to fall apart. That's not true. Isn't it? What if something goes wrong? What if I can't carry the baby? What if I die and leave you with 8 children instead of 7? Stop. I can't stop. I can't stop thinking about all the ways this could go wrong. Jacob grabbed her shoulders, turned her to face him. Clara, look at me. Look at me. She did. Her eyes were wild with fear. Whatever happens, we face it together. That's what we promised. Together. Do you hear me? Jacob. I'm not going to let anything happen to you, or to our baby. I'll do whatever it takes to keep you safe. You can't promise that. I can promise I'll try. I can promise I'll fight. I can promise I'll move heaven and earth before I let you go. His voice broke. You're my wife, Clara. You're everything. I can't lose you. Clara's face crumpled. She fell into his arms, sobbing. I'm so scared. I know. I'm scared too. You are? Terrified. But I'm also happy. So happy it doesn't make sense. He held her tighter. A baby Clara. Our baby. Yours and mine together. What if the children resent it? What if they feel replaced? They won't. They'll love having another sibling. You've seen how they are with Hope. But Hope is Martha's. This baby would be part of our family, the same as all the others. Blood doesn't matter here, Clara. Love does. She pulled back, searched his face. You really want this? More than I've wanted anything in a long time. Even though it's dangerous. Everything worth having is dangerous. Loving you is dangerous. Building this family is dangerous. But I wouldn't trade any of it for safety. Clara laughed through her tears. You're insane. Probably. But I'm your insane husband who loves you and wants to have babies with you. Baby. Singular. Let's not get ahead of ourselves. Fine. Baby, singular. For now. He kissed her, gentle, reverent, like she was something sacred. "We should tell the children," Clara said when they broke apart. "Tomorrow, tonight, let's just be happy." "I don't know how to just be happy." "Then I'll teach you." He did. In the cabin, in their bed in the darkness where all their fears dissolved into something simpler, something pure. For one night they were just a man and a woman who loved each other. No ghosts, no gossip, no danger. Just love. But the danger hadn't forgotten them. Vernon Shaw came back on a Tuesday morning with a piece of paper in his hand and a smile that made Jacob's blood run cold. "What do you want?" "Just delivering some news. Thought you'd want to see this." Shaw handed over the paper. "It's a deed to your land." "My land. Your banknote came due 3 days ago. You defaulted. The bank sold your debt to me, which means I now own everything you have." Jacob's world tilted. "That's not possible. The payment isn't due until spring." "Check your documents. There was a clause about accelerated payment in case of certain conditions. Conditions like, say, taking on additional dependents without bank approval." Shaw's smile widened. 7 children were already stretching your finances. Adding a wife and a baby on the way, the bank considered that a risk. "How do you know about the baby?" "I know everything that happens in this territory, including the fact that your wife is pregnant with your bastard." "That's my legitimate wife carrying my legitimate child." "Is it? The timing suggests otherwise. But that's not really the point, is it?" Shaw stepped closer. "The point is that you have 30 days to vacate this property, unless, of course, you'd like to make a deal." "What kind of deal?" "Give me Clara. Let her come work for me. In exchange, I'll tear up this deed and forget the whole thing. Over my dead body." "That can be arranged." Jacob moved before he could think. His hands closed around Shaw's throat, slamming him against the porch post. "Jacob! No!" Clara's voice cut through the rage. Jacob froze his grip still tight on Shaw's neck. "Let him go," Clara said. "He's not worth it. He's threatening our family. And if you kill him, you'll hang. Then what happens to the children? What happens to me?" Shaw was choking, his face turning red. Jacob held on for another moment, wanting nothing more than to squeeze the life out of this man who'd tormented them. Then he let go. Shaw collapsed, gasping. "You'll pay for that, Brennan. I'll see you destroyed. Get off my property. It's not your property anymore. It's mine." Shaw straightened his collar, still struggling for breath. 30 days. Then I'm coming back with the sheriff to evict you." He stumbled to his horse and rode away. Jacob stood on the porch, shaking with rage he couldn't release. "We have to do something," Clara said quietly. "Like what he owns the deed. He owns everything. There has to be a way, some legal recourse. This is Montana territory. The law belongs to whoever has the most money, and that's Shaw. Then we find another way." "What other way?" Clara was quiet for a long moment. Then, "I'll go to him." "What?" "I'll go to Shaw. Work for him. Whatever he wants. If it saves this family." "Absolutely not." "Jacob, I said no." He turned to face her, and his expression was terrifying. "You are not sacrificing yourself for us. I won't allow it." "You won't allow it? I'm not your property. You're my wife, the mother of my children, the woman I love. I will not let you throw yourself away for a piece of land. It's not just land, it's your home. It's where your children were born. It's where Martha is buried." "I don't care." "You don't mean that." "I mean every word. Homes can be rebuilt. Land can be bought again. But you, Clara..." His voice cracked. "You're irreplaceable. I can't lose you. I won't." Clara's eyes filled with tears. "Then what do we do?" "I don't know. But we'll figure it out together. We always do. 30 days isn't enough time. Then we'll make it enough. The children had been listening. Jacob found them clustered in the doorway, their faces pale with fear. "Are we going to lose our home, Pa?" Eli's voice was steady, but his hands were shaking. "I'm going to fight to keep it." "But what if you can't? What if that bad man takes everything? Then we start over. Together. As a family." "I don't want to start over." Tommy's lip trembled. "I want to stay here. Ma's buried here." "I know, son. If we leave, will we forget her?" "Never. We'll carry her with us wherever we go. She's not in the ground, Tommy. She's in our hearts." Clara knelt down beside the children, pulling them close. "Listen to me. All of you. No matter what happens with this house, with this land, we are a family. That doesn't change. We can build a new home. We can find new land. But we can never replace each other. Promise?" Ruth's small voice was muffled against Clara's shoulder. "I promise. Forever? Forever and always." The next 3 weeks were a desperate scramble for survival. Jacob rode to Helena to contest the deed. The lawyer laughed him out of the office. "Shaw owns half the judges in this territory. You don't stand a chance." Clara wrote to everyone she knew in Philadelphia begging for help. Most letters went unanswered. The few responses she received were cold. "We cannot involve ourselves in your troubles. You made your choices. Live with them." The Fletchers offered to take the children if the worst happened. Jacob refused. "This family stays together, no matter what." "Jacob, be reasonable. 7 children in a wagon in the middle of winter." "I said no." Martha Fletcher looked at Clara with worried eyes. "Talk to him. He's being prideful and stupid." "He's being a father. He won't abandon his children. Even if it kills them. Even then." The night before Shaw was due to return, Jacob found Clara in the barn, packing supplies they might need if they had to run. "You should be resting." "I can't rest. Not now." The baby will be fine. I'm only 2 months along." "Clara." She stopped, her hands full of dried meat. "What?" "If something happens tomorrow, if I can't stop Shaw, don't. I need to say this." Jacob took the supplies from her hands, set them aside. "If something happens to me, take the children and run. Don't wait. Don't try to fight. Just go. I'm not leaving you. You might not have a choice. There's always a choice." Clara grabbed his shirt, pulled him close. "I didn't survive Philadelphia and a blizzard and Vernon Shaw's harassment to lose you now. We fight together or not at all. And if we lose, then we lose together." Jacob kissed her, hard and desperate and full of things he couldn't say. "I love you," he whispered. "I love you too. Whatever happens tomorrow. Whatever happens tomorrow, we face it as a family. Now come to bed. We both need sleep." They didn't sleep. They held each other in the darkness, listening to their children breathe in the next room, waiting for dawn to bring whatever it would bring. The sun rose on a clear, cold morning. By 8 o'clock, Jacob could see dust on the trail, riders approaching. "Clara, get the children in the cellar." "Jacob. Now." She gathered them quickly, efficiently, the way she did everything. Eli helped herding the younger ones down the ladder while Clara carried Hope. "Pa." Eli paused at the cellar door. "What should I do if you don't come back?" "Take care of your brothers and sisters. Get them to the Fletchers. Tell them what happened." "I don't want to leave you." "I know, son, but I need you to be brave now. Can you do that for me?" Eli's jaw tightened. "Yes, sir. That's my boy. Now go." The cellar door closed. Jacob turned to face the approaching riders. 5 men. Shaw in front, the sheriff beside him, 3 others Jacob didn't recognize. "Brennan." Shaw's smile was triumphant. "Your 30 days are up." "I know." "Ready to vacate?" "No." Shaw's smile faltered. Excuse me. I said no. This is my home. My family's home. I'm not leaving. The law says otherwise. Then the law can go to hell. The sheriff shifted uncomfortably. Jacob, don't make this harder than it has to be. I'm not making anything hard, Dan. You're the ones who rode onto my property to throw my family into the snow. We're just doing our jobs. Your job is protecting citizens, not helping rich men steal from families. He has the deed, Jacob. Legally, this land belongs to him. Legally, you're a coward who sold his soul for Shaw's money. The sheriff's face reddened. Now listen here. Enough. Shaw raised his hand. Brennan, I'm going to give you one last chance. Walk away now, and I'll let you keep your horses, keep your supplies, keep enough to start over somewhere else. And my wife. Shaw's eyes glittered. She stays. Then you can go to hell. Have it your way. Shaw nodded to his men. Clear him out. The three strangers dismounted. They were big men, hard men, the kind who did dirty work for money and didn't ask questions. Jacob stood his ground. I'm warning you. First man who touches me dies. You're outnumbered 5-1. Doesn't matter. I've got nothing left to lose. The first man rushed him. Jacob dodged, grabbed an arm and twisted. The crack of breaking bone echoed across the yard. The man screamed. The other two hesitated. Who's next? For God's sake, shoot him, Shaw screamed. The sheriff drew his gun. Jacob didn't move. Go ahead, Dan. Shoot an unarmed man defending his home. See how that plays with the territorial governor. The sheriff's hand wavered, and then from the road came the sound of more horses. Everyone turned. A group of riders was approaching. 15, maybe 20, led by a man Jacob recognized instantly. Hector Delgado, the rancher from the next valley. Jacob! Hector called out as he approached. We heard you might have some trouble today. Who the hell are you? Shaw demanded. Neighbors, friends, men who don't like watching families get thrown out of their homes by rich bullies. Hector's eyes swept the yard, taking in the broken-armed man, the drawn gun, the tension. Looks like we came just in time. This doesn't concern you. When a good man is being persecuted, it concerns everyone. I have a legal deed. We know about your deed. We also know how you got it. Hector dismounted, walked toward Shaw with slow deliberation. Bribing bank officials, manipulating payment schedules, using your money to steal from honest families. That's slander. It's truth. We've been gathering evidence for months. The territorial governor has already received our report. Hector smiled coldly. You're not as untouchable as you think, Shaw. For the first time, something like fear flickered in Shaw's eyes. You're bluffing. I want to find out. Hector turned to the sheriff. Dan, you can lower that gun now, unless you want to be included in the investigation. The sheriff holstered his weapon, looking sick. This isn't over, Shaw hissed. It is for today. Hector gestured to his men. Escort Mr. Shaw and his associates off the property. Make sure they find their way home. Shaw's face twisted with rage, but he was outnumbered now. He mounted his horse and rode away, his men following. Jacob stood in his yard, shaking. How did you know? Martha Fletcher sent word. Said you might need some help. Hector clasped his shoulder. You should have asked sooner, my friend. You don't have to fight alone. I didn't want to involve anyone else. That's pride talking, and pride will kill you faster than any enemy. Hector's voice softened. Let people help, Jacob. Let your neighbors stand with you. That's what community means. The cellar door opened. Clara emerged, hope in her arms, the other children clustering behind her. Is it over? She asked. For now. Shaw will be back, but we have time. Time to build a case against him. Time to fight back properly. Clara crossed the yard and threw herself into Jacob's arms. I thought I was going to lose you. Never. I promised you forever, remember. I remember. Eli approached Hector shyly. "Thank you for saving my pa." "Your pa didn't need much saving. He was holding his own pretty well." Hector ruffled the boy's hair. "You've got a brave father." "I know." That night, after the neighbors had gone and the children were finally asleep, Jacob and Clara sat on the porch watching the stars. "He'll come back," Clara said quietly. "I know. We might still lose everything." "I know that too. And you're okay with that?" Jacob turned to look at her. His wife. The mother of his children. The woman who'd saved him in every way a person could be saved. Today I realized something. Standing there facing Shaw's men, knowing I might die. He took her hand. "The only thing I cared about was whether you and the children were safe. Not the land, not the house, just you." "Jacob, this place is just wood and dirt. You're my home, Clara. You and the children. Wherever you are, that's where I belong." Clara's eyes filled with tears. "When did you become such a romantic?" "Around the time you rode into my life with a medical bag and a stubborn streak a mile wide." She laughed. He pulled her close. "Whatever comes next, we face it together." "Together," she agreed. And in the darkness, surrounded by stars and silence and the breathing of their children, it felt like enough. It felt like everything. Winter deepened, and Clara's belly grew. 4 months now. 4 months of waiting. 4 months of watching the road for Shaw's return. 4 months of building something precious while knowing it could be torn away at any moment. "Stop pacing," Jacob said from his chair. "You're making me nervous." "I can't help it. The governor's response should have arrived by now." "These things take time." "We don't have time. Shaw is gathering allies. Every week he doesn't attack, he's getting stronger. So are we." Clara stopped, looked at him. "How can you be so calm?" "Because panicking won't change anything. Because our children are watching. Because you need me to be steady right now." Jacob stood cross to her, placed his hands on her swollen belly. "Because this little one needs a mother who isn't wearing herself out with worry." The baby kicked against his palm. Clara's face softened despite herself. "She's active today." I think it's a girl. Don't ask me how I know." "What would we name her?" "I was thinking. Martha." Jacob's breath caught. "Clara. She was their mother. She should be remembered. And I want our daughter to carry that name, to know she's part of a family with history." "Are you sure?" "I've never been more sure of anything." Jacob kissed her. Slow, deep, full of things words couldn't express. "Martha," he whispered. "Martha Rose Brennan." Perfect. The moment shattered when Eli burst through the door. "Pa Ryder's coming?" "A lot of them." Jacob grabbed his rifle. "How many?" "I counted 12. Maybe more." "Shaw." "I couldn't tell. They're still too far." Clara's hand went to her belly. "The children, get them to the cellar, now." "Jacob, if it's Shaw." "I know, go." She went. Jacob stepped onto the porch rifle, ready, watching the cloud of dust approach. But the lead rider wasn't Shaw. It was a woman. She rode like someone born to the saddle, straight-backed and confident despite the rough terrain. Behind her came a dozen men in official-looking uniforms. "Jacob Brennan," she called out as she approached. "Who's asking?" "My name is Sarah Whitmore, Governor's office." She dismounted, pulled a sealed document from her saddlebag. "I've been sent to investigate claims against Vernon Shaw." Jacob's heart nearly stopped. "You're from the governor." "I am. And based on what we've found, Mr. Shaw is in serious trouble." She held out the document. "This is an injunction. His claim on your property has been suspended pending full investigation." Suspended. As of today, Vernon Shaw cannot touch this land, cannot touch your family, cannot come within 5 miles of this property without facing arrest. Jacob's hands were shaking as he took the document. "How? Your neighbors did excellent work gathering evidence. But honestly, It was your wife's letters that sealed it. Clara's letters. She wrote to everyone she knew. Most ignored her. But one letter reached the right person. A former patient whose life she saved in Philadelphia. Sarah Whitmore smiled slightly. That patient happens to be the territorial governor's sister. The cellar door opened. Clara emerged, Hope on her hip, the other children clustered behind her. Jacob, what's happening? It's over. His voice broke. Clara, it's over. Shaw can't touch us. Clara's knees buckled. Jacob caught her, pulled her close, both of them crying, while their children watched with confused, hopeful eyes. Pa, are we safe now? Eli's voice was small. We're safe, son. We're finally safe. Sarah Whitmore cleared her throat. There's one more thing. Shaw didn't take the injunction well. He's disappeared. Jacob pulled back. Disappeared? Left his property 3 days ago. No one knows where he went. We have men searching, but... She hesitated. Until he's found, I'd recommend staying vigilant. The joy in Jacob's chest turned cold. You're saying he's still out there? I'm saying the legal battle is won. But Shaw isn't the type to accept defeat gracefully. Watch your back, Mr. Brennan. She rode away with her men, leaving Jacob and Clara standing in their yard with freedom in one hand and fear in the other. He'll come for us, Clara said quietly. Won't he? Probably. Then we prepare. How? Clara's jaw set with the determination that had first made him fall in love with her. We prepare like we've prepared for everything else. Together. The next month passed in tense waiting. Jacob reinforced the cabin. Eli learned to load and fire the rifle. The neighbors took turns watching the roads. Everyone knew Shaw would return. The only question was when. Clara grew bigger. The baby moved constantly now, strong kicks that made her gasp and laugh and sometimes cry. She's going to be a fighter, Dr. Whitmore said during one of his visits. Just like her mother. Is everything normal with the pregnancy? Normal as can be. You're strong, Mrs. Brennan, stronger than you give yourself credit for. I'm terrified. Of the birth, of everything, of Shaw, of something going wrong, of not being good enough for these children. Dr. Whitmore put down his medical bag. Can I tell you something? Something I've never told anyone. Clara nodded. When I came west, I was running. From the war, from the things I'd seen, from the bottles I couldn't stop drinking. His voice roughened. I was convinced I'd destroy everything I touched, that I was cursed to bring death wherever I went. What changed? I saved a life, a little girl who should have died from fever. I stayed up 3 nights straight fighting death itself, and I won. He met Clara's eyes. That girl is your daughter now, Hope. Clara's hand flew to her mouth. You never told us. It wasn't my story to tell, but I'm telling you now because I need you to understand something. You are not cursed. What happened in Philadelphia was tragedy, not fate, and the life you've built here, the family you've created, that proves who you really are. Does it? Look around you, Clara. 7 children who call you mother, a husband who worships you, a baby growing strong inside you. That's not the result of a curse. That's the result of courage. Clara was crying. I don't feel courageous. Courage isn't about feeling brave. It's about doing what's right even when you're terrified. Dr. Whitmore stood. Now, enough philosophy. Rest, eat well, and stop worrying about Shaw. That man is going to destroy himself without any help from you. He left. Clara sat alone, his words echoing in her mind. Courage. Doing what's right even when you're terrified. She'd been terrified for months. But she hadn't stopped. Hadn't run. Hadn't given up. Maybe that was enough. Maybe that was everything. Shaw came back on the night Clara went into labor. The contractions started just after sunset. Mild at first, ignorable. By midnight, they were anything but. "Jacob!" Clara's cry brought him running. "It's time. Now, but you're not due for another 2 weeks. Tell that to your daughter." Jacob sent Eli to fetch Dr. Whitmore. Then he did the only thing he could do. He held Clara's hand and prayed. "It hurts." Clara gasped between contractions. "God, it hurts." "I know. I'm here. I'm right here." "Don't leave me." "Never. I'm never leaving you." The contractions came faster, harder. Clara screamed through them, gripping Jacob's hand so tight he felt bones grind. "Where's the doctor?" she panted. "He should be here by now." "Eli will bring him. Just hold on." "I can't hold on. The baby's coming. Jacob, the baby's coming now." Panic clawed at Jacob's chest. He'd been present for all of Martha's births, but he'd never actually delivered a baby. Never been the one responsible. "Tell me what to do." "Wash your hands. Get clean cloths. Hot water if we have it." Clara's nurse training kicked in even through the pain. If the cord is around the neck, you have to unwrap it, gently. Don't pull. What if something goes wrong? Then you do what you have to do to save the baby. What about you? Clara met his eyes. "The baby comes first. Promise me." Clara. "Promise me, Jacob." He couldn't say the words, couldn't agree to let her die if it came to that. But he nodded, and Clara seemed to accept it. The next hour was the longest of Jacob's life. Clara pushed, screamed, cried, pushed again. And then finally, the sound of a newborn's wail filled the cabin. "It's a girl." Jacob breathed, tears streaming down his face. "Clara, she's perfect." Clara reached for her daughter, sobbing with exhaustion and joy. "Martha." Martha rose. The baby was tiny, red-faced, furious at being forced into the world. She screamed with impressive lungs, and the sound was the most beautiful thing Jacob had ever heard. "You did it," he whispered, kissing Clara's sweat-soaked forehead. "You did it. We did it." The cabin door burst open. Eli stood there white-faced. "Pa, Dr. Whitmore isn't coming." "What? Why?" "There's a fire at the Delgado Ranch. Hector sent word. He thinks Shaw started it." Jacob's blood went cold. "Shaw is here. He's burning the neighbors out, one by one. Dr. Whitmore went to help with the wounded." Clara clutched the baby closer. "Jacob." "I have to go." "No, you can't leave us. Not now." "If Shaw is burning out our neighbors, we're next. I have to stop him before he reaches us." "You can't fight him alone." "I won't be alone. The other ranchers will be there." Jacob grabbed his rifle. "Eli, barricade the door. Don't let anyone in except me or Dr. Whitmore." "Pa, you're the man of the house now. Protect your family." Eli's chin lifted. "Yes, sir." Jacob turned to Clara. She was pale, exhausted, holding their newborn daughter against her chest. "Come back to me," she whispered. "Always." He kissed her, kissed the baby. Then he ran out into the night. The Delgado Ranch was in flames when he arrived. Hector stood in the yard organizing a bucket brigade, his face blackened with smoke. "Shaw. Rode out half an hour ago, headed toward your place." Jacob's heart stopped. "He's going after Clara." "Go. We'll handle this." Jacob wheeled his horse and rode like death itself was chasing him. The cabin was dark when he approached. Silent. For one horrible moment, he thought he was too late. Then the door opened, and Eli stepped out with the rifle raised. "It's me, Eli. It's Pa." The boy lowered the weapon, sagging with relief. "Pa, thank God. Is everyone okay?" "We're fine. Ma and the baby are resting." "Shaw didn't come here." "No one came. We've been watching all night." Jacob dismounted, legs shaking. If Shaw hadn't come here, and he wasn't at the Delgado Ranch anymore, then where? "PA, look out!" The gunshot came from the darkness. Jacob felt the bullet graze his arm, spinning him around. He hit the ground hard, rifle flying from his grip. Shaw emerged from the shadows. His clothes were torn, his face wild. He didn't look like a wealthy landowner anymore. He looked like a man who'd lost everything and had nothing left to lose. "You took everything from me," Shaw said, raising his pistol. "My reputation, my land, my future. Now I take everything from you." Shaw, wait. No more waiting. No more legal battles. No more games. Shaw's hand was steady. "Say goodbye to your family, Brennan." Jacob closed his eyes. Thought of Clara, of their children, of tiny Martha Rose, who would never know her father. The gunshot was deafening, but Jacob didn't feel any pain. He opened his eyes. Shaw was on the ground, clutching his shoulder, his pistol fallen in the dirt. Behind him stood Clara. She was barely upright, still in her nightgown, one hand braced against the porch post. In her other hand was Jacob's spare pistol. "Clara, I told you." Her voice was steady, despite the trembling in her legs. "We face everything together." Shaw groaned, trying to reach for his weapon. Jacob kicked it away, then kicked Shaw for good measure. "It's over," Jacob said. "You're done. You can't just watch me." The sheriff arrived within the hour, summoned by Hector from the Delgado Ranch. Shaw was arrested for arson, attempted murder, and a dozen other charges. As they dragged him away, Shaw looked back at Clara. "This isn't over." "Yes," Clara said calmly. "It is." And it was. 3 months later, spring came to Montana Territory. The snow melted, the grass turned green, the cattle grew fat on fresh pasture, and the Brennan family grew stronger with every passing day. Martha Rose was thriving. She'd inherited Clara's red hair and Jacob's stubborn streak, a combination that kept everyone on their toes. She rarely cried, preferring to observe the chaos around her with wide, curious eyes. "She's judging us," Eli observed one afternoon. "I can tell." "She's 3 months old," Clara laughed. "She's not judging anyone. She's definitely judging Tommy. Look at her face when he makes noise." On cue, Martha screwed up her face at Tommy's loud playing, and Clara had to admit Eli might have a point. "Ma," Ruth tugged at Clara's skirt. "Can we have a picnic today, please?" "I don't see why not. It's warm enough." "With the good bread and cheese. All of that. I love you, Ma." The words hit Clara the way they always did. 3 simple words from a 3-year-old who'd been motherless for most of her life. "I love you too, sweetheart." They had the picnic in the meadow behind the cabin. All 9 of them if you counted Clara's belly, which was beginning to show again. Jacob hadn't been told yet. "You're glowing," he said, watching her across the blanket. "You look different somehow." "Do I?" "Happier, more settled." "I am happy. I'm more settled." "Any particular reason?" Clara took his hand, placed it on her stomach. "About 7 months of reason, give or take." Jacob's face went through 6 different expressions before landing on joy. "Another one." Another one. "Clara, I know. 9 children. It's insane. We're insane." She was laughing and crying at the same time. "But I want this. I want all of it. Every chaos and crisis and beautiful moment." Jacob pulled her close, kissing her in front of all the children, who made various sounds of disgust and delight. "Pa's kissing Ma again," Tommy announced. "Someone make them stop." "No one's making anyone stop," Eli said. "Leave them alone." "But it's gross." "You'll understand when you're older." "I'm never getting married. Girls are weird." "I'm a girl," Ruth pointed out. "You're not a girl. You're my sister. That's different." Clara pulled back from Jacob's kiss, laughing at her children's bickering. "This is our life now," she said. "Regrets? Not a single one." That evening, after the children were asleep and the ranch was quiet, Jacob and Clara sat on the porch watching the stars. "I was thinking about Shaw today," Clara said. "Why?" "Because a year ago, I thought he was going to destroy us. I thought we'd lose everything, and now look at us, stronger than ever, growing our family, building something real. He's still in prison. I know, and I feel sorry for him. Sorry. He spent his whole life trying to take from others because he couldn't build anything himself. He died alone and hated while we're surrounded by love. Clara leaned into Jacob's shoulder. That's the worst kind of poverty, to have everything and nothing at the same time. You're more forgiving than I am. I have more to be grateful for. Jacob kissed the top of her head. So do I. They sat in comfortable silence watching the stars wheel overhead. The same stars that had witnessed their first meeting, their first kiss, their wedding, the birth of their daughter. Jacob, thank you. For what? For asking me to stay, for seeing something in me worth keeping, for giving me a family I never knew I needed. Clara's voice was thick with emotion. I came to Montana Territory running from my past. I found a future I never could have imagined. You weren't running. You were searching. You just didn't know what for yet. And what was I searching for? Home. Jacob pulled her closer. You were searching for home. I found it. So did I. The next morning dawned clear and bright. Clara woke to the sound of children arguing, a baby crying, and breakfast burning on the stove. Normal. Chaotic. Perfect. Ma Sam put a frog in my bed. Did not. Did too. May. Clara pulled herself out of bed, pulled on her robe, and walked into the beautiful disaster that was her life. Sam, no frogs in beds. Tommy, stop screaming. Ruth, help your brother with his shoes. Eli, rescue the breakfast before it becomes charcoal. Where's Pa? Already in the barn. Someone has to do actual work around here. I work, Eli protested. I work harder than anyone. You do, and I appreciate it. Now, rescue the breakfast. She picked up Martha, who'd been crying in her cradle, and settled the baby against her shoulder. The crying stopped immediately. That's my girl. You just wanted attention, didn't you? Martha cooed in response. Jacob came in from the barn covered in hay, grinning like a man half his age. Good morning, beautiful. I haven't brushed my hair. Doesn't matter. You're still the most beautiful woman in Montana Territory. Flatterer. Truth-teller. He kissed her, then kissed Martha, then surveyed the chaos of his kitchen. What'd I miss? Frogs. Screaming. Almost burned breakfast. The usual. Perfect. And it was. Imperfect and chaotic and sometimes overwhelming. But perfect in all the ways that mattered. Clara watched her family swirl around her. 8 children now, soon to be 9. A husband who loved her. A home filled with noise and laughter and the occasional frog. A year ago, she'd been a disgraced nurse running from tragedy. Now she was a mother, a wife, a healer, a partner. She'd been broken. They'd both been broken. But broken things could be mended. Broken people could find each other. Broken families could become whole. All it took was courage, and love, and the willingness to try. Jacob caught her eye across the chaotic kitchen, and his smile said everything. This was their life, their home, their forever, and it was more than enough. It was everything.